What food in someone's cabinet screams, "I'm bad at cooking"? I felt personally offended by these responses since I have almost everything I shouldn't, but then I remembered that I am bad at cooking. You and me both. Let's start a riot. My meal's expired and unused spices. Her little spice cabinet is filled with jars from the 90s and before. Some newer additions too, but for the most part her kitchen is a spice cemetery. My parents have spices in the cabinet from before they were married. They just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary last week. It's a known fact amongst my kids, you don't eat anything in grandma's house without checking an expiration date. We've also started a new game of trying to find the oldest expiration date we can. The refrigerator has stuff from the year I graduated high school in 1999. Ice cream toppings and things like that. The response from my mom and dad is always, "Oh, it's still good." Dang. I didn't really think microwave rice was such a hot topic. My wife and I definitely use those, but it's mostly for the convenience factor. One less thing to cook on the stove. Also, if you want instant stale rice for fried rice. A lot of you are describing the pantries of a cook or a chef who is too tired to cook by the time they get home and just want something quick and easy. Baker here. Holiday season hit and I stocked up on eggs and top ramen. Sometimes a case of Ensure. I see a lot of people here ragging on instant food, but dang, I work full time. Sometimes I make butter chicken from scratch and other times I make hamburger helper for dinner. I consider myself a good cook, but I'm also a person who gets tired. Just because you have lazy meals ready to go does not make you a bad cook. I used to be a chef. After 9 hours of prepping and cooking for God knows how many people, the last thing I wanted to do was bloody cook. I used to either bring food home from work, make instant ramen, or just have toast. To balance out the lack of seasonings, only massive amounts of garlic and onion powder. I met someone who insists you'd be a fool to not pack every recipe with these, to the point where everything has this weird, overpowering fake taste. They're easy to lean on because they smell good as is. It takes a little experience and experimentation to learn how to unlock the other flavors through combinations and actually cooking the herbs. Like, I could just huff a bag of onion powder all day, that stuff is amazing. This thread is like 2 people saying instant mashed potatoes and like 40 people going on a rant about how they're tired and defending instant mashed potatoes. Don't forget instant ramen and hamburger helper. Most of the stuff listed here is either poverty food or stuff that I'm tired and don't feel like playing chef tonight. Here's some boxed crap with some spices thrown in to make it taste halfway decent. I can make some pretty dang good meals. Most of them are stuff that have a lot of prep and cooking time involved. I also have kids with extracurricular activities and a budget. On weekends that aren't busy, I'll gladly make a good chicken parm, red beans and rice, chicken curry, etc. On weekdays where I have about an hour to cook, eat, and shuttle the kids somewhere, dang right I'm making spaghetti with jar sauce and dried parmesan, or hot dogs and mac and cheese, or hamburger helper. If anything, I would say a lack of seasonings would be a sign of a bad cook, or one with very little money. Spices and seasonings are a low effort way to spruce up any meal. What's not in a pantry probably says more than what is. It's more the lack of salt in the cabinet. My family doesn't believe in seasoning food and they don't think it is possible to overcook something. I have heard my mom complain about how pepper is too spicy. They're like the stereotype of white people. I don't know about cabinets, but if you're invited to Thanksgiving dinner and you ask what you can bring, and they say ice or chips, then you're probably bad at cooking. So this is why my cousin was so offended. In my defense, I knew she worked long hours and just wanted her to come over and enjoy the food. She brought ice and store-bought cheesecake. I love her. Instant mashed potatoes are catching a lot of hate. They're also super convenient for a weeknight when time is of the essence and you don't want to spend 20 minutes making a side dish. Yeah, I cook all the time, but 6 of us live in my house. I get those instant potatoes because it's so much easier with everyone here. I don't need help at that point. Plus they last forever and take up less space. For me, it's less the ingredients in the pantry. Even great cooks cheat sometimes. And more about how the kitchen is organized. I've noticed that generally people who cook well tend to have their kitchens organized in a way that is more intuitive to other cooks. Like, as someone who cooks well and a lot, You open a specific drawer feeling like a thing should be in that drawer and voila it is. And it's a gradient as well. So the worse things are placed in the kitchen, the worse they are at cooking. Oh, your spatulas are over in the drawer by the sink and your silverware is in this one next to the stove? Yeah, that makes sense. I tried to cook at my father-in-law's house. He just learned how to make an omelette in his 60s, not judging, and got so flustered just trying to find anything. Even he didn't know where some things were. Alternative example, the first time I cooked at my cousin's house. He's an amazing cook. I just knew where things would be. That reminds me of my friend who came over to my house and said you must not cook a lot because I don't know where anything is. His chicken gave us all food poisoning. I've been cooking since I was 12. The almost bare fridge with only the milk style gallon of water that's half full in the back, a few beers and sparse condiments on the door. Ironically, this also describes the kitchens of a significant percentage of those working in the catering industry. 1. I know for many people that instant food you can make really easily is a necessity. They sometimes don't have time to make a larger or healthier meal. I don't judge those who don't have organic food or some more of the expensive stuff others can buy. I remember when I was a kid we survived off instant ramen and Kraft mac and cheese. 2. Canned chicken. I think it's more about what's not there. If you don't own a cutting board, you probably can't cook. I'm surprised at how snobby some of these comments are. I'm a great cook, but eat instant shortcut convenience foods all the time. My time and energy are finite resources. Sometimes those convenience items are a lifesaver. As long as the food is meant to be in a cabinet, nothing. I'm a trained chef, but you'll find boxed mac and cheese, SpaghettiOs, boxed canned broth and stocks, and canned beans in my cabinet. A great meal from scratch is awesome, but sometimes you just don't have time, patience, or energy for that. What a person has in their cabinet doesn't say anything about their ability until they actually have to cook it. I really don't even understand the question. A good cook can use almost literally anything edible to make a quality dish. Lem just take a peek in my cabinet, then, yep, SpaghettiOs, Campbell's soup, dry pasta and jarred sauce, and microwave popcorn. Being a good cook is dependent on your attitude about food and being creative with flavors. Your pantry is irrelevant. So I guess my answer is caring about what's in someone's pantry is the sign of a terrible cook. It's not always about the ingredients but how you use them. This is the right answer. All of these answers are just showing you who the real terrible cooks are. Nothing but gatekeeping and projection up in here. I am a former executive chef and tonight I will be having hot dogs with canned chili. Just because someone doesn't feel like cooking when they get off work doesn't mean they are bad at it. IDK, but I know if you make meatloaf with cream of mushroom soup you should be loaded into a rocket and shot into the sun. None of them. I'm a decent cook. Nothing that will blow your mind but also not going to burn down the house. And guess what, I don't cook because it's just me. It's instant this microwave that or frozen pizza. Cooking takes time and effort that for just me I'm not willing to put in. Glad someone agrees. I don't mind cooking for 3 or 4 people. Cooking for one person though feels like a huge waste of time. 30 minutes to cook a meal I'll eat in 10 minutes and then have to do all the dishes? No thanks. Where are my pizza rolls? Doesn't exactly answer the question, but if they don't have any hand soap by the kitchen sink, that person either never prepares food or doesn't wash their hands when they prepare food. Either way, they are not good at cooking. My in-laws didn't have hand soap or dish towels in the kitchen until I started putting some out every time I went over there. I think they really just don't wash their hands when dealing with food. Dang, I didn't really think microwave rice was such a hot topic. My wife and I definitely use those, but it's mostly for the convenience factor. One less thing to cook on the stove. The rice itself is fine. I have issues with all the plastic that is coming out of the microwavable rice, though, and rice cooker is not hard to make or clean. Steps: rinse rice in the pot that you use inside the pressure cooker and get that starch out. Pour out water. Fill in enough water for cups of rice. Hit 2 buttons and wait. Don't overcook the rice and fluff it up when it's done. Just soak the pot if you're not going to wash immediately. The only time it's crappy is if you didn't use enough water and the rice stuck to the pot, or if you just left the rice in there for hours after it was done. Measurement can be a pain, but it's something you figure out once and then it never changes. The amount of time you actually put into the making of the rice is like 2 minutes maximum. If you're doing it on the stove, rinse rice like above. Put into a pot. Add enough water, 4 cups of rice. Bring to boil. Lower to a simmer and cover pot. Wait around 18 minutes before checking to make sure rice isn't too wet dry. I'm from the UK. Had to Google hamburger helper as I couldn't imagine what this could possibly be. I'm still confused. Not at all what I expected. Pre-packaged noodles with a cheese packet that sort of has like different spices mixed into it. You add milk and butter to it for the most part. Some people don't add butter, but I do. And then you add hamburger meat to it. You mix it all together and you basically serve it after it boils down to like a goopy mess. It's really good, really cheesy. But a lot of people are like crapping on it for some weird reason, even though we all freaking love hamburger helper. There are different varieties of it. For me, it doesn't matter what they have in their cupboards. Poverty is poverty. I live in a house with another fellow cook and sometimes we have nothing but rice and ramen and canned tomato soup. We've even completely run out of salt and oil. What makes me think someone can't cook is the way they eat their steak. If they like it well done or with ketchup, I have no faith in their cooking at all. None. I won't even give them a chance. A lot of the responses here are snobbery about pre-prepared, instant, shortcut type items. Those do not tell you if someone is a good cook or not. The real tip-off to me is just a general lack of ingredients. Opening someone's cabinets to find nothing but a few packets of ramen, a can of green beans, and 374 packets of Chinese takeout condiments tells me you just don't do a lot of cooking. And if you don't do a lot of cooking, you probably aren't that great at it. I'm honestly shocked by how few actual ingredients most people have in their pantry. At least instant mashed potatoes tell me that you turn your stove on every now and again to cook a full meal. Hamburger helper, manwich, excessive amounts of instant mashed potatoes, absence of basic spices, takeaway menus pinned inside cabinet doors, refrigerator, and the real kicker, an obscene surplus of ketchup. Are instant mashed potatoes anything but dried potato flakes in the US? Mom used them a lot. It's not absolutely the same to mashed potatoes done from scratch, but compared to rice or noodles I still struggle to see much of this problem. 8. Fine. I'll bite. I'm a disabled woman. It's not that I don't know how to cook. A lot of what people are mentioning here are the kinds of foods that are essential to people who are too busy to cook an entire meal or do meal prep. Not to mention the staples of people in poor families. I can't do meal prep or cook from scratch every night. I have 2 jobs and I'm getting a college degree. What the frick do y'all expect? If I'm not exhausted from going to work or class, I'm exhausted from a flare-up of one or more of the myriad of medical conditions I suffer with. Sometimes jar sauce, ramen, microwave rice, and boxed macaroni with powdered cheese, hamburger helper included, is all that a human being can muster up the energy to make. That being said though, it's Velveeta. Good god, Velveeta is awful. I wouldn't touch it with a 5-foot pole. I purposefully spend more on the organic mac and cheese because Velveeta is just that wretched. I'll add sour cream or half and half, certain spices, depends on what I'm craving, and toasted breadcrumbs to my mac and cheese because it tastes pretty divine and isn't that much extra effort for me. But that near diarrhea cheese, I shudder at the thought of it. Your mac and cheese hack sounds amazing. Definitely gotta try that. My partner is scared of pasta of any kind, even though he doesn't blink before eating bread or croissants or cake. But sometimes I need to throw back to my childhood. Thanks for the tip. Nothing would ever make me think that someone is a bad cook simply because they have it in the cabinet. People can be great cooks, and sometimes enjoy cheap low-end foods. I consider myself a great cook. Mom taught me the French mother sauces when I was 8, and I've been learning for 30 years since. And my cupboards definitely have things like hamburger helper, instant noodles, canned beans, and all sorts of low-end foods. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.